Hello, everyone. Welcome to our brand new podcast, Visibility. I am with Michael Doeys. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alicia. It's good to be here.
So, do you care to explain a little bit? I can help you out. Maybe we can work together. Why we came up with this podcast and where this came from?
Sure. So, if memory serves, because there's a lot of conversations that happen in co-working spaces, so
Yes.
that's how those things kind of go. Actually, I think that's a great idea for an episode is talk about co-working spaces.
All right.
But we got together and it was like we were talking about different things with business, and we were talking about some things with business, and we thought it would be interesting to say, hey, what if we had a business related podcast to talk about issues for different things for people that have disabilities and things like that. So like topics related to running a business or working or being, in business, self-employed, if I could talk
or
today.
Freelance or,
and
things like that. Establishing a name for yourself.
And, we'll talk about a lot of different topics here, but we want to really focus on being self-employed because there's so many things that go into it that, I have Techopolis Online Solutions. Alicia is a freelance copywriter, and we have Taylor, who will probably be on from time to time and things like that. So there's so many topics that we can talk about on this show that we will not run dry on ideas.
And so for this entire visibility journey, Michael is my co-host. We are co-hosting this venture together. This is a podcast by the IACast Network. So if you have any sort of feedback or episode ideas or anything of that nature, be sure to send feedback and episode ideas and things like that to feedback. What is it? Feedback at iacast.net?
You got it.
Is that correct?
Feedback at iacast.net.
With the subject of visibility. That will tell us that it is specifically for this show and that you have contributions to make for this show. We went back and forth over this podcast and randomly came up with the idea one night at like, what was it? Like 1:30 a.m., almost 2.
Yeah.
It was late
context,
at night.
We were working on different projects, and that's why we were up talking. I want to make sure that disclaimer is out there.
Yeah.
We were working on who knows what. And we were talking about, the funny thing is that, most people go out partying, go to bars and stuff. No, Alicia was probably working on some copywriting. I was working on some app stuff. And
I
we were
was
talking
actually,
about this.
believe it or not, I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. It wasn't yesterday. It was like a week ago.
Friday, I think, wasn't
it? No, not even that. It was like, I don't know. It was some random day in the week. It was definitely not a Friday, but we were, I think it was not that night when I was having you ask me questions for my course. It was like the night after.
Mm-hmm.
We started talking about random business topics and we got like really deep and philosophical and stuff. And then I think one of us was just like, why don't we start a podcast about this?
Yes.
Like we have the power to. Why don't we just do it?
Yeah, we have a whole network,
And then Michael was like, okay, well, why don't we ponder over visibility and maybe we'll see if we still want to do it in the morning.
Exactly. It was like,
but yeah, I was working on, now I remember I was working on my website. I think I was working on my services and I don't know. I was working on one of my website pages and go ahead.
But that's beside the point. Like we decided that this would be a good idea because there's so many topics to talk about. We have a lot of podcasts on the network, but we don't really talk about employment, like how to get a job or be self-employed, how to make your dream come to life. And I think as somebody that is blind or low vision or has any disability, self-employment's a good option. And so we want to really just talk about those topics. And that's, I think we got into some deep conversation about, how to really come up with it, take your idea to the next level. And, that's a conversation we'll talk about in another episode, but,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what kind of led to this. So it's pretty exciting, and we'll continue it weekly. So it's cool stuff.
Yeah,
We
every Monday
record,
at 5 p.m.
yep,
Central.
every Monday 5 p.m. Central, and then the plan is currently for it to come out on Thursdays.
Currently.
We'll see if that sticks, but once we come up with a plan, that will stick.
And I'm sure we'll have plenty of like business related topics and things to talk about that relate to people with disabilities and things like that. So, with that being said, Mondays at 5 p.m. Central Time, US. I don't know. I'm excited.
Yes.
So,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do we want to go ahead and get into our topic for today?
Yes, absolutely. So today's topic is if I could speak. Today's topic is remote working and what kind of opportunities it has brought up for people, just people in general, but mainly people with disabilities. So, Michael, what is your opinion on remote work?
It's terrible. I don't recommend it. No.
I should have said
I think,
honest opinion.
Yes. I've worked in an office environment for 10 years, probably, right at about 10 to 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something for being in an office because you have the connection with people. You can talk to people. You can step out of your area and have those conversations that are good, those healthy conversations during the day. But at the same time, those conversations also mean you don't get as much work done.
Right.
So remote work has allowed, I think, people to be more productive, but I also kind of think remote work makes it to where people are just as productive as in an office because you see things that you need to do around the home. So your 15-minute break may go to 20 or 25 minutes that that you don't intend. So I think there's drawbacks and advantages to that for the social aspect and just, between the office and remote work, but it also allows you to be more comfortable, be around the surroundings that make you stress free. It really just makes it to where you can be yourself. And that's what I've liked. The 2 years that I've worked remote work since, I guess, 2001 have been, 2020, 3 years. Wow. Have been fantastic because I've been able to be in my own space, use not always my own equipment, because when I worked for the state, I did use their equipment, but it's just been a wonderful, just being able to be at my desk, be able to put things where I know where they are and work like that has just been a great experience. So, and I think that a lot of people have experienced that. Some people work on their couch, and sometimes I do that. My vision doesn't always allow me to do that. Plus, my 27-inch monitor is fantastic, but
I have been one of those couch dwellers people. I also, for a while, built up a really bad habit of working in my bed. I think that's a really good conversation to have. Why it's a good reason not to work in your bed. Do not work in your bed. It is so bad for you. But anyways, continue, Michael.
Yeah, I cannot say I'd work in my bed. That's one level that I will not go to. I mean, I guess if you have a screen reader on and you're just typing away, type, it's like, okay, you could just put the laptop, next to you or
Yeah.
on your stomach and just start typing. But that I just,
No, it's not healthy for you.
No, it's not a healthy thing. It
tells your brain that your bed is a place to work, and then you
Yes.
can't really sleep. So you're just like, Well, what do you know? Anyways, continue.
And my problem is if I did work in my bed, I would fall asleep. The laptop would fall off of wherever it was, and
Yeah,
so that
right,
wouldn't work too well.
right.
But just having your own desk set up and your own organizational structure is very useful, I think. And it also cuts down on the travel. I'll tell you, I worked at some companies that were in the opposite end of Austin, and travel to that was atrocious, especially if you're blind.
Hmm.
And so just being able to just wake up, get things ready, and hop on the computer, there's no commute. That's fantastic.
Yep, you just
So
get up, get dressed, and take a seat.
I've been rambling quite a bit. Alicia, what is your experience with remote work?
So I have done nothing but remote work. I have not two different perspectives here. I know, but I have done nothing but remote work. I for school, when back when I was still in high school, it was still in person. So I did get that feel of like in-person co-working type of deal because there were projects and things that we would have to work on together and we would have to collaborate, we would have to talk and things like that. But then in 2020, after the lockdown, when everything went remote and over Zoom and things like that, it made things different for me. It opened up different possibilities because I I was able to just work from a place that was familiar to me, and I didn't have to worry about, oh, well, I have to travel to this new office and I have to do this and I have to do that. And where I live is a very rural area. So traveling is not a very good option for me because there is I don't have people to depend on constantly to be able to do those travels. So I I don't know. Remote work just sounded so easy to me because everything is just right there. I had a computer, I had a tablet, I had my phone, I had everything I needed to be able to get that work done and be able to make extra income and things like that. But the reason why I liked it was because it it brought up more possibilities for me. It brought up a lot more possibilities for me because of, for one, the travel, for two, the disability. If you really think about it, now everyone has their own perspectives on how to disclose their disability. But if you really think about it, depending on your disability, sometimes those disabilities are so invisible that if I was to hop on a Zoom call right now, unless you totally paid attention to me and every action and every motion that I was doing and every eye contact and things like that, you would not know. You would not know that I was blind. And that was one thing I loved about it. The reason why I say that is because I was able to prove myself before I disclosed my disability. I did not like I did not like the idea of walking into a job interview and immediately them knowing I was blind because of the cane I was carrying, or in the future, the guide dog I'm walking with. I didn't like that idea. It's just awkward and uncomfortable, and they immediately put stereotypes on you the moment you walk into the door. And I didn't like that feeling. So remote work just sounded so easy to me, and not to mention, can we just talk about the fact that you can literally work anywhere your laptop is, anywhere your internet connection is? What?
Yeah, I
That
mean
was
it.
not a thought. That was
Mhm.
not a thought in years past.
And that's the thing about it is that I have family that's getting older, and so just being able to go see them or take care of them doing remote work is fantastic. I do kind of have a differing like view on the in-person work compared to remote work, and that is I look very much, I just look blind, whether if I'm in person or not. And if I'm on video, people know. And so for me, I believe that confidence is key. And I want to really emphasize that when it comes to business, whether it's owning your own business, working somewhere, doing whatever you're doing, confidence is key. And not overconfidence, not showing off that you know your thing, but confidence and being comfortable in the situation is key to success. Because I could walk into a situation and I may not know anything about what's going on, but I'm confident in my ability to problem solve and learn. And people can read that in your mannerisms, the way you talk, the way that you approach a situation, and the disability typically falls away. And so for me, I actually have a harder time reading a room remotely than I do in person, because I can, even with a cane, I could just walk in and be confident and comfortable and just know that I'm going to be okay because of how I present myself and how I want other people to perceive me. And I think those are important things, especially on if you're doing remote work. It's you kind of have to use a different skill set. And it's like, for me, I was in that in-person environment, and going remote was such a change. And I think it's interesting because Alicia was more in the remote environment and has not done the in-person as much, so she's more comfortable with that. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think I got used to working independently. I got used to working I got used to riding solo. And I had projects where I could work alone and I could be alone. But I noticed here recently, especially, that even though I'm working alone, it's nice to have other people working around me. And I think that's one of the cons of a remote environment is if you don't have access to, people that are also working around you, you're kind of not in that mood to work. You're kind of distracted. You're kind of distracted by the sounds around you, the different stimuli, your distraction. If your bedroom is your workspace, you're kind of distracted by what's in your bedroom. You would rather turn around and watch Netflix than do your work. That kind of thing.
Oh, so
Like you
I'm not
have
supposed
those.
to watch Netflix while I'm working? Nobody told me that.
Okay. I mean, I would hope you wouldn't be trying to watch Netflix while you're working because the brain can only truly focus on one thing at a time, if you really want my honest opinion. You're either watching Netflix or you're working. Or sometimes
Well,
you'll be working and then your Netflix will chime in the background and take your attention. And
actually, funny thing is, I will put old episodes of TV shows I've seen before on while I'm working sometimes, and so yeah, don't know
but the fact
why.
that the fact that you have that flexibility, I love it. And you're not going to bother anyone.
Right,
There's no one else there. I mean, maybe the people in your household, but like, I would hope you wouldn't have it like 10 times louder than it needs to be.
right.
But I, I'm beginning to see the growth of co-working spaces, virtual co-working spaces. And I'm beginning to see, like, especially with working with Michael and Techopolis, how co-working spaces really truly help me and how being able to communicate with my coworkers is more efficient and it makes life a lot easier and other people are working around me so I have more of the tendency to to also be working. So I'm beginning to notice more of an uptick in my productivity ever since I got into co-working spaces because people do, even in a working environment, people do need that motivation to work. And when you're in a co-working space, you are, whether it be Zoom or in a Slack huddle. I love Slack huddles. But whether you're in a Zoom or a Slack huddle or something like that, whatever it may be, people need that connection with their coworkers. And that vibe that helps people like understand like, oh, it's time to be working now. Like why are we can't go get distracted on Netflix because our coworkers are keeping us accountable. We can't go get distracted on YouTube or video games because our coworkers are keeping us accountable. Because our coworkers are also working too. And you can hear them and they can hear you and they know what you're doing because they can hear you and you can hear them. I don't know. I like that
But
connection.
that is one thing that's nice about running your own business or doing remote work as a freelancer is if you want to, you can make your own hours. The issue is though, is making sure that you stay on task for a certain number of hours per week so that the work gets done.
Right.
Right. So yeah, and that's kind of the big thing for me. Like, I don't always want to be working 8 to 5. Sometimes it's just nice to say, I need to take care of this thing around the house or do something, but then I have to also realize I need to make that time up later. You know,
I've noticed I really like the freelance work, the owning your own business and being able to make your own hours and be your own boss. Not only because I can make my own hours, but also because I myself have chronic migraines and I have other problems that, happen sometimes and other health issues that go on. So sometimes out without a warning, I could, need to, stop working and rest or, take some medication and sleep it off. So, or else I'm not going to be functional and I'm not going to be well. I'm not going to be well enough to keep going throughout the day. So, to not to realize that no matter what, no matter what, at the end of the week, I'm still gonna end up being paid the same the same amount of money. I just need to get the tasks done is amazing. I don't have to worry about punching that clock and taking off hours, and those hours I missed are gonna lead to less pay, and I don't have to worry about commuting home from that from that office space because that might be a little dangerous, especially if I am if I'm feeling sick or unwell and I'm dizzy and I can't see straight, less straight than I already don't, you know, it's not really safe to be getting in an Uber and taking a commute and things like that, especially if I get nauseous and I'm dizzy and I can't walk straight. It's one of those situations where I don't know, that just doesn't sound appealing to me. Ending up with a migraine at work, I would have to either call an Uber or call someone to come pick me up that understands my disability and my issues. Inconveniencing the people around me and inconveniencing my family or friends or whatever. I don't really like that idea. It just doesn't sound appealing to me. So being able to just step away and do what I have to do and rest to take care of myself is just
right,
amazing. I love that.
right, and just being sometimes just working outside, like just going and sitting outside and say, I want some fresh air while I work today.
I cannot tell you how many times I have gone outside and sat on our front porch deck and just worked on our front porch. I love being able to do that, especially when the weather's nice.
We have a park around here that's really nice, and we can, if we want, just go get some lounge chairs, go put them out there and sit and work. So it's a very nice environment, and when it's not too hot. But even coffee shops or places like that are
Yes.
fantastic, for remote work. And people are saying, they want people back in the office for regular jobs, but I mean, I think for self-employment and contract work, it's just an easy way. Like, it's just so affordable, and it's effective, and it's good for mental health. So what what do you feel like are some things that we could improve or could be improved by with remote work? Because I feel like we have we're talking about all these great things, but there are things that are negative. We've talked about a few cons, but what can be improved? Like, what are some things that you feel like are the drawbacks?
I feel like my main drawback is distractions and how prevalent distractions are and can be. When it comes to, especially if you're making your own hours, it can be so tempting to just be like, no, I'm not going to work today. I'm not going to work today. I'm not going to get any of this done because I just don't want to. I can't tell you how many times I have done that and I have just said, I will do it tomorrow. Today is just not my day.
Believe it or not, this will surprise you, but it's worse in an office
Really?
because you'll be sitting at your desk, you'll be getting work done, and then coworker X or coworker Y comes in and says, "Hi, so and so, how are you doing today? Did you watch the football game yesterday?" Yeah, I did. Blah 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 blah. 30 minutes later, okay, I need to get back to that task that I was doing. Or your boss comes in and says, "We need to have a meeting." Oh, here we go. And so you're sitting there for an hour in a meeting you hadn't planned on, and you're not getting work done.
And you're just wondering, wait a minute. Instead of talking about all of this work that I could be doing, why am I not just sitting at my desk doing my work? Can
Right.
we just meeting adjourned, please?
So it's a drawback because there are distractions at home, but
Right.
they also exist in the office. They're just different.
Yeah. They're just different distractions.
I mean, heaven forbid
Um,
you got to walk to the printer.
yeah, especially if your printer is like a mile away.
Yes, because then you'll be stopped by everybody on the way to the
Oh
printer.
my God.
So, been there, done that. I think some of the one drawback I would say to remote work is, well, there's two. And remote work, I mean, for business owners, it's kind of essential, right? There's not really an office for, self-employed folks to go to. I mean, there's co-working spaces, which we'll talk about in another episode.
Oh,
But
that's not true. I'll
okay.
go into that in a minute. Keep talking.
But if there's not a dedicated space for you to say, this is my office, and you're going to be at home most of the time or out where you want to be, because that's just your office. And I'm very interested to hear what Alicia has to say about the contrary.
There are spaces now that there are buildings now that rent out office spaces. So people can, you bring your own equipment and you set it on up and you can, run your business out of it. And I don't know, people can set up their own office in a building and just rent it out. And some are actually very affordable if you ever wanted to do that. So if you do have a problem with working from home, you can just rent out an office space and actually do the commute and do all of these other things. But why would you want to? That's my question. If
Well,
you
I
have
mean,
the
I
option
think
to work from
I
home.
think just a different change of pace is good, but my question
Yeah.
is, what is affordable? Like, can somebody that's a freelancer or a small business afford that with all of the other expenses that go into running a business?
Yeah, and it also depends on if they have another job and if they are, doing things like that. I don't know. I don't know what affordable is to me. All I know is I would rather not leave my house. I would rather not leave my cozy chair, or my desk, my air conditioner, how I have it like optimally set up for my preferences, my speakers and all of that stuff. I don't have to worry about bothering anyone if I have my Amazon Echo playing in the background.
I guess
I love that.
I guess the kind of thing that interests me about those kind of spaces is, what are they, just office space, or can you have conferences? You
I
know,
guess it depends on like what you want to rent out.
right? Because, I think for some people, they want to be able to have a local aspect to their business. And so working from home is kind of a struggle because they have to go meet people and that kind of thing. But if they could have people go to their office space that they rent out, that would be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking into if you really can't work from home.
Hmm.
But, if working from home is a better option for you as far as commute and things of that nature, then there you go.
Right.
But I found it interesting that there were such a thing as a rented office space. I did not even know that that was an existing thing. I didn't
I knew
know.
that was a thing, but I figured it was just, for the 5 to 10 person business that's not really a
No,
freelancer and that kind of thing.
nope, nope.
Of
Freelancers do
course,
it too. I know a couple.
I'm wondering, where are those places? Are like, is a freelancer going to be able to afford that in like Austin, Texas? I don't know.
It depends. I guess it just depends. Because, like, there are independent renters now that will rent out parts of their buildings on, like, spaces like, gosh, there are tons.
But I guess it comes down to what your needs are, just like everything else.
Right.
Remote work is fantastic because of the versatility. And I think that's the one thing to take from this is, if you're running your own business, you can make those rules. But the one thing that, and we'll come back to this often on this podcast, I think, the one thing that's important is, you cannot build anything by yourself. You
Right.
sitting in a room doing something for hours and hours and hours is great, but it's not going to build the industry that you want. I've been building apps since 2012 or 2011, I think. And I've got a job out of it and other things, but the traction is finally starting to come to this business because I have this 4-letter word called a team. And being able to do remote work with that team and being able to talk to people has really helped get me motivated, but it's also helped by having other people that can spread the workload of that. And I think this actually needs to be another episode.
Yeah, we can
Kind of
talk
goes
about
along
that.
with remote work. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that for. I really want to stick to the meat and potatoes of this actual topic, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I said it needs to be another episode to talk about
Yeah,
all
that
that.
needs to be another episode. I don't know where to go from here, honestly. I
Well,
was distracted.
I think we've talked about a lot of the things, and we'd love to know how our listeners find remote work. Do you find it to be what you need, or do you wish you worked in an office if you are starting your own business?
Yeah. Do you wish you worked at a specific place in a
Hmm.
building in your own, you know, or would you rather work from the comfort of your home or from the comfort of wherever you wanted to go, like a coffee shop or someone else's house or park or Yeah, would you rather be able to work remotely and,
So
work anywhere your connection is?
so here's a question. Do you feel like what about your internet? What about things like that are required for remote work? Do you feel like, what if you don't have those at home? What would be your solution then?
If you don't have those at home, then I guess your only solution is to get those at home or not work at home.
Right.
Maybe go somewhere. You could go somewhere like, like a coffee shop or something with Wi-Fi, internet cafe, something like that.
Hmm.
Or to a
And
library. I know someone who goes to a library and just sits and works to use their Wi-Fi.
hmm and we don't have the excuse anymore. Previously it was, I don't have a computer. But
You don't need a
now
computer.
now you just need an iPhone or Android phone. There are entire business owners that run their business from their phone. I find that incredible, but they do it.
You can ask Michael, and he even thinks it's absolutely incredible. I have been doing everything: website creation, content creation, chat GPT usage. I have been doing funnel building and tons of everything for my clients for the past 2 weeks. Nothing but from an iPad Air 5. I have not
Yep.
used my laptop.
Yep.
My laptop is down here on this keyboard tray collecting dust.
But
I
your
have not
laptop's a
touched it.
Surface Pro, and so that's kind of more of a tablet than a laptop.
Well, yeah, it's a 2-in-1, but like it still has the same like processors and still
It
uses
it's a
the same.
it's a tablet with your iPad is a two-in-one because it has a
Yeah,
keyboard. So
yeah,
they have the same form factor, and you could do more with that iPad than that Surface
yeah,
because it's, well, for one thing, it's an older Surface, but
yeah.
the
It's a
iPad just
Surface
has so
Pro
many
7.
features.
It's a Surface Pro 7 with a Core i7, Intel Core i7.
Yep. So it just comes down to what equipment do you have, and do you have the ability to do what you need to do? I think with today's time, with our phones and tablets and things like that, everybody has the ability to run a business.
They are becoming mini computers.
Well, a smartphone is a bad name for what our iPhones and Android phones are. They are not phones. They are computers with a phone component.
They are mini computers.
Hmm. Most people don't think about that. They think of it just as a phone that could do internet and other things, but it's not that. It's a computer that can be a phone.
Right. And if you really think about like how the M1 chip is progressing and how they're putting it in iPads now.
Hmm.
Not everyone can say that they have a tablet that runs a mobile system that can do computer desktop things. Not everybody can say that. Apple can say that. And like not even Samsung can say that. And they're their biggest competitor for the iPad.
Actually, the Samsung tablets do have a really cool mode called Dex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole different like
Hmm.
that's practically a whole nother software though.
It's not actually. It's just they changed
It's
the interface and it runs
yeah,
Android
it's
apps.
it's a changing interface, but it reskins everything. I'm talking like with the iPad, nothing changes.
Right.
You still have the same gestures, the same usage. You can still touch the screen. You can still manipulate things. It doesn't change, and I like that. I don't really like Dex. I don't
Interesting.
really like Dex. I'm not a fan of Dex. I have Dex on my phone. I can get Dex on
Hmm.
my phone
See, I like the
and hook
concept
a
of that.
computer to it and hook a monitor or hook a keyboard to it and hook a monitor to it. Now I don't like Dex. I don't like what it does to your device. I don't like the desktop like software. I feel like it still
Hmm.
has a long way to go.
Right.
Um so I would prefer to just be able to use a mobile optimized type interface because I can interact with it in any way I choose, whether that be
Hmm.
touching it, using a mouse, using a keyboard. But where I was going with that is I kind of like that ability to choose what I want to do with my device.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess for I really like the desktop experience on machines. It's my preference, but I mean, I do like what the iPad has to offer. I just feel like for my business needs, it doesn't do what I need, but that's okay. It
Yeah,
just depends on the use case. I think for writers, the iPad is fantastic, and for doing graphics, touch interface, and having a trackpad or mouse works really, really well.
right. That's just the best use. I love being able to type everything up on a device that's just so small and so thin, so easy to carry. However, I still love being able to have a workhorse. So, like, I love being able to have a computer for some of the small amount of items that an iPad just cannot accomplish, for, you know, because certain applications are not optimized
Hmm.
for a tablet or a mobile device. So there are some applications that are optimized specifically for computers, and those are the applications that I cannot use
Hmm.
on an iPad.
Well, and it comes down to also with multitasking. The iPad can do a lot of great multitasking things, but music. If you're on a conference call with your coworkers and you want to play music on your iPad, you can't do that. You can do that on a computer, but you can't do that on an iPad, and that's always bugged me. And so you still have to have multiple devices, and that's why it just depends on what your use case and your needs are, right?
I have
So,
always preferred having background music and things
mhm.
on my phone. I've always preferred a separate device anyways because I can stow it away and not, be touching it and interacting with it. I don't know, I guess that's just me.
See, on my computer while I'm doing a remote work, I can have Spotify on, listening to music and talking to people on Zoom, and press one button and it goes to the next track. One button goes to the next track, or play, pause, mute, all from my keyboard. So it makes it very convenient just to have all of that in one convenient place instead of having to go to multiple places to handle all that. But
Right.
you know, in this when we talk about remote work, there's so many facets about it because everybody remote works differently, and I think
Hmm.
that's really what we're getting at with all this discussion, because we're talking about mobile versus computer versus, mobile and computer. So I think we're getting close to the top of the hour, but yes, we are. And
We got
so
5 minutes.
yeah. And so I guess when we end out these shows, do we want to give a business tip for folks? I guess
Yeah.
today it would be remote work related.
Business work. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just a business tip, period.
Well, if that's what
Um,
we want to do, that's great. But I figured if
yeah.
we keep it to the theme, then that's kind of a
Yeah, that's
bonus.
the best way. So, business tip, the way we're going to do it is business tip, and then what is your business? Where can they find you online?
Yep.
Because after all, it is a business podcast. We want people to be able to promote their businesses. Our guests will be able to promote their businesses and, things that they sell. So business tip, your business, where can they find you online?
Yep.
All right, so you go first.
So, my business tip for this time is when you're starting your business, figure out what you need and your upgrade plan for technology. So, if you know you need a laptop, figure out what the budget's going to be for that, how often you need to upgrade it, and come up with a plan, because then you could save money and those kind of things. Me, of course, I upgrade pretty much everything every year. Except for my laptop and certain things, but phones, depending on, as an app developer, that's all important. So it just come up with a technology plan. It's very important, and it will help you in the long run to know what you work best with. Because, you may buy an iPad for your business and it's like, oh, well, that's not scaling well with me. So I need a laptop. but you've already spent all that money on the iPad. So coming up with a technology plan is very important. As for my business, I own and manage Techopolis Online Solutions LLC. We do app development, web development, accessibility auditing, and copywriting services.
Hey.
Through Alicia. Yep. And so you could find us at techopolis.online, and you could find me online as Michael Doeys on all the platforms, and you can email me at mikedoeys@techopolis.online.
All right. For my business tip, firstly, I would have to say keep a consistent schedule. So when you are working remotely, create a routine for yourself. For example, when are you going to start work? When are you going to end your day? When are you going to take breaks? And when are you going to take lunch? That helps you get on a routine. Not only is it good for you and your coworkers, it's good for you physically because our bodies have a clock. Our bodies have a rhythm and they get used to a rhythm. So if you stay on a rhythm, whether you're remote or you're not, you're going to get the best results in your productivity, and you're going to be better at finding your peak and whenever you're most productive. So that's my best business tip. But for my business, obviously, my name is Alicia Geary. I am a freelance copywriter specializing in website content and email copywriting. You can find me on my website at blindcopywriter.com. You can email me for my business at alicia@blindcopywriter.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as Alicia Geary. You can find me on Discord as Alicia Geary or Blind One Lives. You can find me on Mastodon, Blind One Lives at techopolis.social. And and Facebook as Alicia Geary. Sorry. But I think that's everything. So if you liked the content, be sure to subscribe to it or follow it in your podcatcher. Be sure to leave us a review. And if you loved this episode, be sure to share it with a friend and make sure that they can get all of this amazing content. But for this episode, that will be a wrap. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.